The number one most dangerous ingredient in the entire world is not what you think. This ingredient is worse than high fructose corn syrup. It's worse than sugar, it's worse than starches, and it's worse than seed oils. Based on mice and rat studies, it is considered a Class A carcinogen, which means it's a probable carcinogen in humans. A carcinogen is something that causes cancer, and this ingredient is a very potent neurotoxin, not just with nerves, but your brain as well. And it also messes up reproductive organs. This is validated by several international cancer associations. Even the EPA classifies this ingredient as a carcinogen. Now here's the interesting part. You will not find this ingredient on the label. Why? Because it's not an ingredient. It's the byproduct of ingredients that's created after you process all this stuff, specifically when you add heat. What is this byproduct chemical? It's called acrylamide. Acrylamide is created when you combine a certain protein with a sugar under high heat. The first part of this video is going to be as simple as I can make it, and I'll get into some more technical things later on. You can watch it if you want to. And, hey, I'm also going to give you some good news as far as the antidote or how to neutralize that chemical acrylamide later in the video. About 40% of our foods have acrylamide. You won't get this chemical reaction with natural sugars like sugarcane or even honey. It has to be more of a refined sugar, like glucose or dextrose, which is the synthetic sugar, or glucose syrup, or even maltodextrin, which is a starch. Because it's so badly processed, it's going to turn into sugar really quickly. And then combine with that protein, the modified food starch, the modified corn starch, which is basically in a lot of these foods. Now realize when you heat something up, you usually heat it in something, right? Like oil. If you're at a fast food restaurant and you're making fries, they're not going to fry without oil. On top of all the bad effects from seed oil, sugar, and starches creating a lot of inflammation in the body and damage to your organs, we have this darn acrylamide thing on top of everything, which is like the most deadly of all of these, putting ourselves at risk for cancer. What's really interesting about this is, if you add a saturated fat instead of the seed oils that they fry the French fries with, you actually don't get this production of the byproduct acrylamide. Back before the 1990s, when McDonald's fried their fries in tallow, which is beef fat, you didn't get acrylamide from that. Even though you had the protein and the starch, you had saturated fats. Saturated fats protect against the formation of acrylamide. Let's say, for example, all of these junk foods were made with tallow instead of seed oils. What would that do? Well, that's going to reduce the cancer risk right off the bat. Or imagine going to a restaurant and all they used was tallow or even coconut oil to fry things with. You would get a reduction of the toxicity. Would it be completely benign? I wouldn't go that far, but it's a lot less toxic. So what foods have acrylamide? Well, corn chips, potato chips, French fries, baked goods, crackers, cookies, breakfast cereals, the crust in bread, and even roasted coffee. Now, before you freak out, because I know you probably drink coffee like I do, there is a very simple way to reduce the acrylamide in coffee, so just hang in there. I'm going to get to that now. So, if you happen to accidentally consume some acrylamide, how do you counter it? Well, I already mentioned one thing: adding tallow, coconut oil, or butter. You see, saturated fats are much more stable. Oh, and I also pointed out that if you use a natural sugar like sugarcane or honey, you're not going to create this acrylamide reaction. If you have the choice between baking or cooking something, always opt for more natural sugars. Not that I'm recommending indulging in sugary foods, but hey, if we want to reduce this whole cancer-causing acrylamide issue, natural sugars are the way to go. Refuse to consume any refined sugars. I'm talking about high fructose corn syrup, dextrose, and all these other overly processed sugars. At home, when you're cooking, slow cooking can help reduce this chemical reaction. For example, sometimes I'll slow cook pork, and it never gets above 26 degrees Celsius. It certainly doesn't reach 285 degrees or more. By keeping the temperature low, you're staying safe. Another tip: focus on eating more whole foods instead of the refined stuff. That refined stuff, it's what's killing us. And if you happen to eat junk food, though I'm not recommending it, pair it with something that can help neutralize the effects. What can you eat to help counteract it? Cruciferous vegetables like kale, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, arugula, and cabbage. These have protective compounds against acrylamide. Garlic is another great option. Sprouts, like broccoli sprouts, also have protective properties. Foods high in vitamin C, such as sauerkraut, citrus fruits like lemons and limes, and bell peppers, can all help protect you. Green tea is another excellent choice, and oh, spirulina can do the trick too. These foods and drinks can really help provide some protection. Alright, let's talk about coffee for a moment. How can we reduce acrylamide in coffee? Well, since coffee is roasted, one way is to drink organic dark roast or espresso coffee. These go up to around 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and at those high temperatures, acrylamide becomes very unstable and breaks down. On the other hand, light roast coffee has about 10 times more acrylamide than dark roast coffee. So if you're a coffee drinker, choosing the darker roast can make a big difference. Alright, let's get a little more technical here. I want to explain what's actually happening in this chemical reaction. It's called the Maillard reaction. When it comes to protein, there's a specific amino acid called asparagine. It's found in corn, wheat, rice, and soy. In these refined foods, you're not protected. When you take asparagine and combine it with a refined sugar like high fructose corn syrup or other refined sugars, then crank up the heat above 285 degrees Fahrenheit or 120 degrees Celsius, you get this chemical reaction, the Maillard reaction. The byproduct of this reaction is acrylamide, and acrylamide creates another byproduct called glycidamide. Now, glycidamide is even more deadly than acrylamide. That's the stuff that really causes cancer. It gets a bit complex because it's not just about reading food labels. You've got to understand that there are harmful compounds created just from food processing. When you look at ultra-processed food calories, you're getting all these additional things you don't want, things that cause a lot of harm. Take a look at the average diet. For teenagers, 67% of their calories come from ultra-processed foods. For adults, it's over 50%. And for toddlers, it's around 46 or 47%. That's a lot of ultra-processed food calories. Did you know the second most common cause of death worldwide is cancer? I mean, I see it all around me, people dying of cancer, especially as they age. And you want to know what contributes to cancer? Acrylamide is one of those things. Sure, people know about the risks of smoking and drinking, but acrylamide is a very potent cancer-causing compound in humans. I hope I've given you enough information to at least be aware of acrylamide and how to avoid it as much as possible. And hey, if you do happen to consume it, now you know how to counter it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.